ESNY.
Welcome to the Knicks State of Mind podcast. I'm your host, Danny Small, alongside my co-host here, Chip Murphy. Chip, how are we doing today?
I'm good, man. Ready to talk some Knicks. There's not, like we were talking about before the show, not a lot of Knicks stuff in particular going on, but a lot of stuff to talk about, like regarding former Knicks. As usual, we've had a lot of players that are unsigned, stuff like that. But I've been doing pretty much anything I can to avoid my Jets recently because I got all into football for the first time in a long time. And earlier I was watching a replay of the Packers game from that's how into football I am.
Yeah.
But I can't, like, I don't know about you. Did you watch the whole Jets Pats game last week?
Yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal. Yeah, I'm right there with you too. It's just, I mean, I'm. We don't have to get too deep into it, but I'm not that worried.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
Once Darnold comes back, it'll be okay. But like these first 3 weeks have been brutal to watch. Just bad.
I stopped watching at halftime, and I bet the Pats and the Jets got the cover, like right at the end too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was actually good. I had him in a pick'em, so yeah.
Oh, did you?
I guess that actually good teams win, great teams cover, I guess.
That's true.
All right, so moving on to some Knicks stuff. Today, as we're recording, Lance Thomas, former Knick, actually, he was the longest tenured Knick last year. One of the guys, kind of hung around for a little while. Looks like he's getting close to signing with the Nets as we record this. Honestly, not like a whole lot to like dissect here because Lance is more of a role player, I'd say, at this point, like a veteran presence in the locker room. But decent signing for the Nets. I mean, he'll bring that veteran presence. But it's not like I don't think Knicks fans are too upset about losing Lance. Great guy, like good locker room presence and all that. But it's not like he's going to bring a ton on the court for the Nets.
No, like you said, he's more of a locker room presence. I think they're actually signing him for being a locker room presence is what my guess would be. Did he play with DJ last year? Were they on the team at the same time? They were there together, right?
Yeah, they were. They were for sure, but call it Lance. He didn't play a ton. I'm looking right now. He only played 46 games last year.
Yeah, because I know he was hurt.
Yeah, and then actually, he was playing down the stretch, so they definitely played together.
Okay, he was playing.
But he was hurt. He was hurt for a little while last year. Fell out of the rotation here and there. But I mean, he's a local guy. Like went to actually St. Benedict's in like Jersey. That's like the Bermuda Triangle of high school basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyrie Irving's from down there, St. Patrick.
St. Pat's.
Trying to think. There's a
St. Anthony's is the all-timer.
Yeah, St. Anthony's with Bobby Hurley. But those three schools there for a while were so good. And Lance was a St. Benedict's guy. So I mean, good thing for a young guy. But it actually, the reason why we bring it up is it got us talking about some of the former Knicks that are still free agents right now. Obviously, Carmelo Anthony is still out there, and it actually is kind of looks like the way Lance Thomas is getting that last spot for the Nets possibly. That could bump out Melo because we've heard so much about him going to the Nets. What do you think about Melo's chances of maybe not the Nets, but signing somewhere before the season starts? What do you think chances of that are, Chip?
Well, we saw the Shams, whatever his name is, report that said Melo's unlikely to go to the Nets, right? So I'm not really surprised that he's not going there. I think it's more likely that he's an in-season signing than a preseason signing because I feel like he would have been signed already by now. We're recording this on Wednesday the 25th. September 25th, sorry. And it's, I mean, Melo's team has put things out. Melo's put things out. He did that interview with Stephen A. basically
Mm-hmm.
saying, "Give me a shot." What more does the guy have to do? I feel like it's going to take an injury for him to get a chance, and either that or maybe teams just don't want to bring him in. They don't think he's worth the trouble. I hope that's not true, but unless you're a contending team, Melo doesn't make sense. And LeBron could have brought him into the Lakers. I mean, he could have done it last year,
Mm-hmm.
but he chose to bring in Michael Beasley and Lance Stevenson.
Yeah.
So I don't see the Lakers thing happening. I definitely don't see the Clippers thing happening. I don't see Jerry West and Doc Rivers doing that.
No.
Uh, I don't know about another contender. I don't know if the ownership group there in Denver wants to deal with that nonsense. The one place I would think of, there's two places. Is Miami, obviously, because they've always been linked to him, and then Portland, because Dame and
Mm-hmm.
CJ are always talking about how much they like him.
Yeah,
If
I was gonna.
someone gets
I was
hurt
gonna
in
say
Portland,
Portland.
yeah. So if someone gets hurt in Portland, which it seems like guys are always hurt in Portland,
Mm-hmm.
uh, then yeah, I could see. And Portland, by the way, Portland's weak at the wing. So
Yeah, that's
uh,
actually one of their problems. Like next year, which they've always had like these like long, lengthy wings like to throw out there, but this year seems like that's not exactly going to be shored up for them as much. I mean they're bringing in Mario Hezonja, which
yeah,
nothing against him, but I don't think
he's
he's
not as
somebody
good as
that
yeah.
you're going to want playing big minutes off the bench for you. I mean he's he had his moments with the Knicks last year. I mean the LeBron play was crazy. Just in itself, that single play, the Giannis dunk,
That
but
was great.
for the most part, he was kind of like in and out of the rotation. But what I will say about him is he had this reputation of being a malcontent in Orlando, kind of, or at least that was like the narrative, maybe. But in New York, he was like always cool, like never picked out like that, that moment where he's like, well, I think I should be doing this, I think I should be doing that. He's always like a pretty good, pretty good soldier for Fizdale, which not to get too far off on a Hazonia tangent, but like I have a hard time thinking that Melo isn't better than him right now. And maybe I'm just sucked in. Maybe Melo actually has fallen off, this badly, where he's not worth, the juice isn't worth the squeeze to sign him and like endure like just like the scrutiny that will come with it. But I mean, he still can knock down a shot. Like he's still a big body who can like get a bucket when you need him to off the bench. So, I mean, honestly, I feel like we'll be talking about this, like you said, into the season until someone kind of gets desperate and someone needs a quick fix or needs to take a chance on him. But until then, I still, yeah, Portland is one, Miami, you said, but there's not like any like primo destination. For a little while there, it felt like the Nets were going to be that, like just made sense with Kyrie and, KD, DeAndre, it just made sense, but clearly did not from a Nets perspective because they went and signed Lance Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Does the Lance Thomas signing really mean that Melo is out for good? Like, I mean, I know Lance is probably going to take that Wilson Chandler spot, right? The one that opens up
I would
on
think so,
like,
yeah. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I feel like though, like Melo's right there too. If they're not going to sign him because of Lance Thomas, then I wouldn't think they're ever going to sign him. But I mean,
yeah,
I guess things can change quickly, and maybe this is just being a prisoner of the moment. But I feel like the Nets are kind of like a done deal for him.
yeah. I think probably. I mean, he's close with guys on the team. I'm sure they spoke up for him with
Mm-hmm.
Marks, and he was kind of shot it down, is what it feels
Yeah,
like. So, which I can't really blame Marks for that. He's got a lot on his plate already. And
yeah, that's
Atkinson,
yeah.
Atkinson's trying to win 48 games, 50 games, and he doesn't want to deal with the Melo circus, which I kind of get. And I feel like if Melo goes anywhere else, it's not really going to be as bad as people think. But if he does go to a team in New York that's not the Knicks, it's going to be a little bit of a circus. So,
yeah, because there's going to be more media scrutiny and everything like
yeah.
that. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hate to like overhype that, but yeah, I think it's definitely somewhat of an element to the whole piece of the pie with Melo.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right, moving on from some of the free agent and slash Melo talk, we're going to talk about the ESPN Top 100 rankings that came out. Obviously, it's still September, so there's still not a whole lot to talk about until Media Day and everything next week. So we'll talk about the two Knicks who actually made the Top 100. We have Mitchell Robinson, who came in at 98, and then Julius Randle coming in at 92. Pretty, I'd say I thought just gut reaction right off the bat when I saw it. Mitchell Robinson, I'm cool with that ranking. Just that he cracks the top 100 is like pretty cool and pretty awesome after his rookie season, where he really came on strong late. But I think Julius Randle for me is a little bit low. I mean, 92 is below a lot of guys who I think he's proven himself ahead of. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just my gut reaction. But what do you think about those, Chip?
No, I don't think that's your gut reaction. I think that he's the fact that it was so surprising to me is he's 92 and he was 84 last year. And
Yeah,
he's
right.
coming off the best season of his career and he went down 8 spots? How does that make sense? I don't get that one. And his projected real plus minus wins, he's going to account for 1 win this year? Danilo Gallinari, or not Danilo Gallinari, Otto Porter is going to account for 6.2 wins this year. Are you freaking kidding me? Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, there's a ton of like good guys ahead of him on the list. Don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah. I'm
all
looking
these
at.
guys are great. But yeah, I feel like he's coming off the best season of his career, and he goes down 12 spots. I mean, obviously New Orleans, they didn't make the playoffs or anything, but he showed he could kind of shoulder the load on a team for a little while. Without Anthony Davis there, he was kind of their horse. I mean, I know they have Drew Holiday, who's fantastic, but in the bulk of the front court minutes were Julius Randle was leading that charge. I mean, I don't know. I feel like last year he proved a lot, and now he's like there's just not a ton of respect for him. But again, it's maybe I'm just getting too worked up about these lists because at the end of the day, they don't really mean anything. It's just September, so there's not much. You got to get worked up about something. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to get worked up about the list either.
I would
But
say it always ends up happening anyway.
yeah, exactly. It does. I mean, especially when you see things that are like inexplicable to you that aren't even like related to the Knicks sometimes. Like you look at like I looked at the Brook Lopez. I love Brook Lopez. I've always been a huge Brook Lopez fan, and he was 50th last year, and he had a huge year last year. One of the made a bunch of threes. He was like one of the top 3-point make guys last year, and he went from 50th to 80th. Like I
Yeah.
mean, I don't get that. I just don't. And I'm looking at, I mean, the one everyone's talking about. I'm looking at Klay Thompson at 49th. But
That one, I mean, it's got to be like injury, right? Like that's the only explanation for why he's that low. I mean,
but isn't the whole thing with real plus minus that they don't take stuff? I thought they didn't take stuff like that into account. Maybe I'm wrong. Look, I love the analytics, the real plus minus stuff. You know that, but
yeah.
I don't understand it perfectly, and I think real plus minus is flawed, especially if you only take like one season of it, and you're like, oh, that guy had a great real plus minus that one year. No, you need to look at it overall. But it says, dude, Klay Thompson projected real plus minus wins 1.2. Like Otto Porter's going to have more real plus minus wins than Klay Thompson. Seriously? Like, I don't. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, Klay Thompson. I mean, he's a future Hall of Famer. Like, could go down as one of the best 3-point shooters of all time. Probably will.
mhm.
And he's behind. No offense to these guys, but he's behind John Collins. Like, you're telling me, I know he's hurt. Like, but you're telling me if they're both healthy next year, you got to have John Collins on your team than Klay Thompson. But I feel like they have to be taking injury into account because like there's no other explanation for why Klay Thompson would be that low.
And just two more, and I got to bring up my boy Kyle Lowry because this disgusted me. Yeah. He wins the championship, has a huge playoff run, and he goes from 21st to 39th. He's about to be in a contract year. He's going to ball out. Zach, you listened to the Low Post with Lowe and Arnovitz, where they were talking about Lowry maybe signing an extension. I think the number Arnovitz brought up was like 3 years, 75 maybe. From the Raptors, I absolutely signed for that, by the way. I'd trade Gasol and Ibaka maybe, but I think it sends a lot of goodwill towards other players that, they sent a pretty rough message when they traded DeRozan.
Yeah.
Masai really needed to gain some goodwill back when he.
Yeah, I think if he didn't win that championship, things would be a little different because like that made up for a lot. Like I think Kyle Lowry probably can be like, all right, well, it worked. We won a championship. Like you can accept it. But I think you're right. He might, be building some more. I don't know. I don't want to say credibility because that's not it at all. But like he might be building, more of like a relationship with guy, or at least I don't even know how to explain or how to articulate it. But he might just be like making some inroads with guys in the locker room, showing them that he's got their back. But like I said, if you win a championship, you can do whatever you want as GM. Like you're doing something right.
Now he's considered he always was considered a top GM, but now he's considered like a top 3, 4, or 5 GM in the league. So I feel like you win a championship at some point. Now you're considered like a team that's going to go after like these free agents. Like, aren't they going to go after Giannis in 2021? I would think so. They're going to try and get a meeting, right?
Yeah, you would think. But I mean, I guess right now, the question is, are they going to want to invest in Lowry like that? Or are they going to want to like retool around Pascal Siakam? Because I wouldn't be shocked at seeing him, blow it up mid-season, which I know. I think the Raptors are pretty good as is. Maybe not a championship contender this year because they lost Kawhi, but I think they're like that 4 to like 7 in the East. But will Masai just blow it up and just want to like retool for the next run to a championship? I don't know.
That's one of the most interesting questions, right? Because like he's never had to deal with being like a 7 seed, right? Or like a 6, 7, 8 seed. So he could, like you said, they're a team now where they won the title. So now it's not about making the playoffs or making the Eastern Conference Finals. It's about winning a championship every single year. So if they're if they're like in the 6, 7, 8 spot in February, you're right. He may just say, "F it, I'll trade everyone." I don't know. Masai,
trade everyone like outside of Siakam and then like build around him or something like because that would be kind of like a
and Van Fleet.
And Van Fleet.
I think they're the only 2 untouchable guys on the entire roster.
Like Gasol, Lowry, Ibaka, like just saying, all right, let's see how much we can get for them, clear some space out, and then just get ready to retool.
And then you have a lot of money opening up, a lot of cap space opening up, and you got to pay Siakam, what's that, $120 million on that extension, right? And you got to pay him, obviously.
Yeah, I think he last, the finals, he kind of cemented himself as their future going forward.
I'm kind of interested to see what he's going to look like as the number 1 guy too. Like that, he was so good in that finals, man. Oh man, he was a money player.
I think almost like before the finals, or at least before the playoffs for sure. It was like Yeah, but if they lose Kawhi, can they really rebuild or retool around Siakam? And I think in that finals, some of those games he had, I think he kind of put that not to bed. I don't want to say, but like put fears to ease a little bit because
Yeah,
he was just so dominant in some of those games.
he'll be an all-star this year for sure.
Yeah, I think so. And that Eastern Conference, it's a little easier to break through than in the
Hmm.
West. So I think he's definitely, and they'll be playing through him. I think a lot. So I think he'll be in a lot of positions to do pretty well. So moving on to our last topic of the pod, talk about a little mock draft. Way too early mock drafts, we'll admit. Obviously, so much can change between now and then. But in ESPN's latest mock draft, LaMelo Ball is heading to the New York Knicks at number 3, which kind of just is a crazy statement to say because think about this time last year, even a few months ago, LaMelo was more of a mid to late round pick. And, so much can change. The Knicks might not get the 3rd pick. The Knicks might be, lower, higher. Who knows? LaMelo could drop. LaMelo could rise. But the one takeaway from the article and that had the mock draft was Gavoni said one NBA scout said that he could be in the conversation for number 1 overall pick. So I think that's just an interesting development with all, the craziness of LeVar Ball and everything with the Ball family, Triple B and everything. Kind of a crazy thing, but it was kind of interesting. I want to say most of the reaction I saw was more negative towards LaMelo coming to New York, but just the idea of the Knicks getting a player like LaMelo is pretty interesting to me. What did you think of when you saw that LaMelo Knicks mock?
Well, a couple things stood out to me. The first one was that, like you said, that NBA scout comparing him to Luca. That was obviously like a
Mm-hmm.
buzzword type thing. And then the other thing was the guy, his Australian coach, talking about how he never hears from LeVar, Melo's dad,
Mm-hmm.
who's notorious for the way he's hands-on with his
Mm-hmm.
sons, I guess we can say.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Um, yeah. And I guess he's doing that now while his son's playing in Australia, and that's good. But I think I'm more on the side of I would prefer not to have LaMelo Ball because I feel like if his son goes to New York, LeVar is going to be more hands-on. Like I don't think he's really gonna be hanging out in New Orleans with Lonzo. He's not really interested in being down there. And what's the other kid? The one who's not good? The one who shoplifted the
LiAngelo.
sunglasses? Leangelo? Yeah, he's got nothing going on with that kid. So he's got to find a kid to hang out with. And if LaMelo were to go to New York, he could hang out with Spike Lee. Spike Lee apparently likes him.
There's a great gif of those two. Like
Yeah,
when
yeah.
Lonzo, I think the first time he played in the Garden, he had a
Mhm.
great game, and like Spike Lee, and I remember him and LeVar like hugging it out like on courtside.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean I get all the concerns with LeVar. I mean he's been quiet lately, but who knows how that's gonna last. But I mean I do think it's kind of interesting that LaMelo has kind of changed the narrative a little bit. And not that I really know much about him as a player. Like I haven't watched a ton of him, so like I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, oh, he's going to be a can't miss prospect. But I mean, his brother's a really good player, and not that we should be taking everything LeVar says, completely seriously. But I think LaMelo is one he consistently says he's going to be the best out of the 3 of them. He's always been kind of on that, LaMelo is the best, which maybe saying it because he's the youngest, motivate him, whatever. I don't know. I don't want to get into this, psychology behind LeVar Ball and what he says. But,
Is
I
there a
mean,
psychology there?
I don't even know. That's for a different pod. But I mean, I think it would be kind of cool to see LaMelo like buck that narrative that, he had such a kind of a crazy rise to where he is now. It's kind of an interesting thing, and for nothing, if he did get drafted by the Knicks, that would be great for writers and
Oh my God, yeah.
bloggers and podcasters because there would almost be nonstop content, I feel like, with him.
Absolutely. It'd be great. It'd be great for us as content creators.
Yeah.
I'm
Might
not
not yeah, it might not be
sure.
great for Knicks fans and their, anxiety, but I
Yeah,
mean that's a different story.
absolutely. Like I said, I would prefer not to have LaMelo Ball, but if he does turn out to be the best prospect and is head and shoulders above everybody else or something, I wouldn't not draft a kid because his dad is a jackass.
Yeah.
You draft him and you deal with the jackass father, like the Lakers did.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah,
like the
cuz
Lakers did, maybe you just get rid of him for a superstar. Like so,
that's a good point. Lonzo, I know it was part of a package deal, but he turned into Anthony Davis, which isn't bad
yeah,
for the Lakers.
exactly.
And yeah, no, like you said, that like the reaction, I think for the most part, like you were saying, you don't want him. I think that's how most people were saying or feeling. And a lot of people said to me,
Hmm.
on Twitter, like, well, we should be trying to compete for the playoffs. We shouldn't be tanking for a draft pick. But I think maybe like I was looking at it, like the ideal scenario for the Knicks this season might be like win 33 games and jump up somewhere a little bit higher in the lottery. Because that's like exactly what Memphis and New Orleans did. They won 33 games. They got the 1-2 picks. Now they have these, great prospects coming in. Knicks in that scenario, they would take a step forward, so people would see, okay, maybe incremental progress. They're improving, and then you get another, big time draft prospect like that. Obviously, a lot has to fall into place for that to happen. But it's not crazy to think the Knicks can add another good young player next year and not have to tank to do so.
I think that who's tanking? Yeah, like do the Knicks need to trade Marcus Morris in February to tank? Yeah, I think they're going to suck
Mm-hmm.
whether they have their best veteran players on the team. I'm not one of those people who thinks they're going to compete for the 7th or 8th spot. So I don't get the complaining about the tanking thing. The Knicks aren't tanking; they're trying to win. They wouldn't have gone out and signed a guy like
Mm-hmm.
Taj Gibson if they were trying to lose on purpose.
And
So
and they have to go that direction. Like
yeah,
they can't let last season happen again.
because Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, I said it before. We both said it. If the Nets don't make the playoffs last year, I don't think Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant go there. Yeah, if they don't
Mm-hmm.
win 40 games. So the Knicks, the most important thing the Knicks need to do is not get high draft picks, not get rookies. It's start winning games, have winning seasons,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe if they start winning games, maybe they can sway someone somewhere down the line. I don't know. Finally.
Yeah, I mean, everything you say, yeah, is right on the money. And I feel like I know you mentioned the low post before. You know,
Yeah.
Zach Lowe got into that at the end, saying, like they're never going to sign anyone, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
never
yeah.
going to happen. He's just kind of like saying it, and almost, he was like defeated just because he wants it to happen. But like you said, the only way for it to actually happen is to just start winning games, start, you know, making those steps forward, that incremental progress. Which, obviously the playoffs this year would be like the shooting to the moon on that, because that would be like such a huge step forward. Even like getting to like 30 wins this year would be a nice step. And yeah, obviously that's not exactly what Knicks fans want to hear, but do that for next year, and then you have to take another step forward, because 2021, I hate to even mention it because I feel like we're gonna talk about it ad nauseum over the next 2 years.
Ugh.
But that should be the goal for, when you want to become a contender by 2021, because you can't try the quick fixes or anything. It's too hard, it's too impossible to get there from where you are. Slow incremental progress is the only way.
I feel like 2021 is going to be the next LeBron James and Wade Chris Bosh free agency. I'm a little worried about that. When everyone was talking about maybe getting LeBron, I'm worried. Yeah, it's. I mean, yeah. Who else is a free agent other than Giannis? I can't. I'm blanking off the top of my head. You think?
Yeah, I'm blanking too, but I know Giannis is like obviously that's kind of the like the in topic right now that
Yeah.
people are starting to kind of like look at 2020. But yeah, no, I mean it's
And
the only way to get
Kawhi
there.
and George are up again.
Oh yeah, Kawhi and George they structured their deals. Drew Holiday, Bradley Beal, Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley.
Oh, LeBron.
Yeah, LeBron too. There's Oladipo, DeMar
Oh,
DeRozan, Aldridge,
wow.
Blake Griffin,
Wow. It
Chris
really is
Paul,
stacked. Oh,
Gordon
my God.
Hayward, Otto Porter, Steven Adams. So yeah, no, there's plenty of talent that's going to be on the market.
Blake, too.
Yep, Blake Griffin. So I mean, I think we need some basketball because we're sitting here, we're talking about mock drafts for next year. We're talking about free agency 2021. I think what we need is we need some preseason basketball at least or something to get us going because
I
I'm
know.
definitely ready. We're going to come out with some predictions soon and a couple of the next episodes and stuff. But I think that's all we got for Nick's State of Mind today. Kind of just running through some of this last second free agency stuff before training camp and everything arrives. But we'll catch you next week.